Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So one of my close friends asked me, why did you start investing in real estate? And ironically, that was a good question. No one ever asked me that, and I never really thought about it. So it was a great self-reflective question and wanted to answer it and kind of share my thoughts. So my answer to him was, well, it's kind of all I really knew at that time. And I kind of accidentally fell into real estate. So let me kind of describe what I mean. So my mom, when I was living at home, we had a 5-bedroom house, and it was just myself, my mom living there, and we had 3 extra bedrooms. So my mom would always ask me, "Hey Steven, could you post an ad for a room to rent on Facebook or Craigslist, and so we can rent it out?" So I just would post the ad on Craigslist and Facebook, and I just would then give them my number to my mom, and then she would talk to them. And then show them the room, and if they liked them, she would basically rent out the room for X amount of dollars. So I would always do the research, and I was like maybe like early 20s when I was a pharmacist, just a new pharmacist. I didn't really think much of it. I just was like, okay, I'm just helping my mom out. That's all I thought I was really doing. So eventually in 2017, when after living at home for a while and saving up money, paying up my student debt, and save for a down payment, the next logical step was for me to get a house. I was ready to leave the nest, if you will. And a lot of people can argue that leaving the home at 27 is late, but it's very common in Asian American culture. And I think now with Gen Zs, they're living home longer as well, just to save on money. And you can give all the reasons. Rent's expensive, depends where you live, depends on the job you have, all that stuff. But anyways, basically I just bought a house for myself, right? So I put 10% down on the house, saved that money up through my pharmacist job, W-2. Didn't really have any special hack or any special business. And I just thought, okay, this Livermore house, I thought it was going to be my forever home. So I furnished everything, all the bedrooms, which, looking back, that's a mistake, but hey, you live and you learn. And furniture has a bad ROI because you could, at best case, you could sell your furniture for like half off, even if it's been used for a year. But anyways, I fully furnished the house, lived in the master bedroom. I just thought, well, I don't need a 2,300 square foot house to myself, right now. So I was like, you know what? Let me just rent out all 3 rooms and do what I did for my mom. Post on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and then tenants would respond. I talked to them on the phone. Meet them in person. If they're great, I would check out their documents, their bank statements, pay stubs, credit score, maybe some references if they had any, and talk to them, and then just sign the contract. And it's month to month, so it was no harm, no foul either way. If I didn't like them, I could move them out. If they didn't like me, they could move out. Or if they're in a transient situation, then they just can move out. So I did that, and my mindset was honestly I didn't think I was gonna be a landlord, but I was like, hey, I get $3,000 a month, that covers my mortgage. And then I was probably making about $180,000 at that point, W-2. And I just said, okay, well, I can save money. I'm used to living with roommates, and it's nice having people around, right? I was mostly in the family room after work, and then after being there, I just go to my master bedroom and just sleep, shower, rest, whatever. So wasn't really utilizing much of the house, and I didn't really cook that seriously back then. Just very simple stuff. So my mindset was, well, I'm just gonna rent out the rooms. Eventually, if I have a girlfriend or someone I'm dating, then I would maybe only have 2 tenants, and then eventually, if I have a kid or something, then I may only have 1 tenant, right? And then if I have 2 kids, then I would have 0 tenant. So it was a very stepwise weaned down, right? Because people naturally just move out, and I just maybe wouldn't fill that room. So that was kind of my mindset. But all of a sudden I got a new job in San Francisco, and then I just said, okay, well shoot, I don't want to pay rent, because at the time I was thinking, well, I don't want to pay other people's mortgage down. At least that was my mindset, because I owned real estate. So I said, okay, let me go find another house to buy in San Francisco, which is what I did. I bought another house for 10% down. So I was commuting from my Livermore house to San Francisco. I would take the BART all the way there. It would take 2-3 hours, which was crazy. And at that point, I just did the same thing. I bought a house, which was a makeshift duplex, and then I would live in the top unit, the master bed, rent out the 2 other rooms, and I rent out the lower 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit to some college students, because we were near some colleges in San Francisco. From there, I was just like, okay. And then I just rented out the last house that I was living in. So I was renting by the room. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to rent out like my master bedroom out to someone else. And like I said, I was accidental landlord. I didn't really know what I was doing, right? So, once I was there, I was like, all right, cool. Well, I have that house that I used to live in. Now I have this house that I'm living in now. And I thought the same thing, like, okay, eventually if I, have a girlfriend and have family, people would slowly move out, right? If I had a girlfriend, maybe one tenant would leave, and then once I had a kid, and then the other tenant would be gone. I just would live in the upper unit by myself, which was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house, right? So, didn't really think too much of it, and didn't like the rent by room model for my Livermore property. So once there was conflict, there's issues, I just moved them all out and then rented it out to my current tenant, who's been there since 2019. So they've been there for 5 years now, and have been great. But the cash flow is less, but I'm not responsible for utilities, I'm not responsible for cleaning it, and it's just like easier to rent it out to one person, at least from my experience. Like, I don't prefer the rent by the room model unless I'm living there, and at this stage of my life, it's not worth it for me to rent by the room. I'd rather just have the privacy, and I felt like I've earned it and deserve it, right? And I'm in my 30s now, and that's reasonable. So like you said, it was once again accidental landlord, and and then all of a sudden I moved to Southern California to chase my future girlfriend, now fiance, Christine, right? It's very K-drama of me, or Korean drama like. I moved 400 miles away to, had a chance to date a girl, and it worked out for me. As you can tell, check out my Fiance and Finance series. Haven't created some videos in a while, but we have I think 10 episodes out, so check that out. Subtle plug there. But yeah, once again, when I moved over here, I had the same intention. Like, I actually rented out a place, apartment, and then I rented out my San Francisco house, and then I rented out my Livermore house, the same tenant, and it's still the same tenants in my SF house today. So once again, 5 years. And when I rented, I was renting an apartment in Orange County, and I was like, all right, once again, I want to, buy a house that I house hack. So I found a property in Lake Forest, which is next to Irvine. So it's a little bit cheaper, and I bought it for 10% down. And I had the intent of actually moving into that and, building an ADU in the backyard, and then moving into the ADU in the backyard for myself. Because I wanted, I had a girlfriend, I wanted privacy, but I didn't need a lot, right? Like, the ADU in the backyard would have been probably a 2-bedroom, maybe 2-bath, maybe about 700, 800 square foot, which is plenty for me. And if my girlfriend decided to move in. And I would rent out the front house, right? So I'd be like that backyard landlord in some funny way. But what ended up happening was I was like, well, I ended up getting laid off at my job. So, it's impossible to get a pharmacy leadership job in Orange County unless you know people. So I had to keep my options open. So once my lease ended, I ended up moving to Santa Monica, which is where I was living, and then rented out. And then, from there, it opened up more job prospects for me, so that I could, work there and, commute or whatever, right? So, once again, I rented out my Lake Forest house to someone else. And, they would cover, most of the cost of the mortgage. I might have been a little cash flow negative, but my SF house was a little cash flow positive, so they kind of balance each other out, right? And then from there, I was just like, you know what? I kind of like renting because it's really simple, right? It's pretty cheap. I was paying $2,300 a month to rent, and you don't have to deal with any repairs, right? If plumbing breaks, clogs, I just put in a request and someone takes care of it. Versus, if you own a house, if something breaks or clogs, you have to do it yourself, right? So I was just kind of like, all right, well, maybe I need to learn how to buy more cash flow real estate. So that's when I kind of thought, California, it's all appreciation, no cash flow. But it's not sustainable to buy California real estate because I can't just buy all this cash flow negative properties that have good equity and good appreciation. But, equity, you don't want to be too negative, if that makes sense, because it makes you more dependent on your W-2 job. And my goal was to, retire from my W-2 job early. So that's when I dived into out-of-state single family homes, and I discovered the market, Huntsville, Alabama. I heard about it for a long time. Heard that a lot of space companies are there, Air Force is there, SpaceX is there, and it just had a lot of growth, had a lot of good tenant base, and I could buy a brand new build, 4-bedroom starter home, brand new for like $250,000, which I blew my mind, and I can rent that house out for about $2,000. And if I did the math, I would cash flow about $800 a month. I was like, oh, this is bananas. Like I could put like what $70,000 down, and I would cash flow 700, $800 a month, right? And I just would scale this over time. And then what's nice is I'm not living with my tenants, so that I could just continue to rent, but whatever money that I can save, I would just invest in down payments. So I was doing that, and then after that, I was like, you know what? Like, how do I do something more scalable? Like, so that's when I got into multifamily real estate. Like, I want to just, it takes the same amount of effort to close on well, I'll take that back. I was going to say it takes as much effort to close on a single family home as it does a multifamily, but I would say with multifamily, so this is 5+ units, it does require a lot more underwriting, right? Like single family, it's easy. You're just like, okay, this is how much it costs. This is my loan. This is my rent. This is my cash flow. These are my expenses. But with multifamily, it's just that, but like times 20, right? So like how much is the rent for the apartment per door? What can the rents be? Property management, I just do 50% expenses, but like it's not that much more work, right? You're doing your due diligence, you're doing your underwriting, you're talking to a lender, you're showing your documents, you're doing a signing, you're doing a closing, you're wiring your money, right? So it's like economies of scale. So that's when I went to multifamily real estate, and then from there, bought my first apartment complex, which is my 26 unit. Then I shiny object syndrome into a mobile home park, which I thought was like multifamily, but it's not. It's completely different. Ended up selling that for a loss, and I bought a 20-unit apartment complex, which I currently own. So, that's all sharing that story, all to say, like, why did I choose real estate? For me, it was just accidental. And for me, it just kind of made a little more sense because, I lived in a place, right? I lived in a house growing up. I rented an apartment at college, and I would, rent a room when I started my job, and I'd help rent out the room for my mom. So, and then eventually when I bought houses, I'd rent out the other house. So like, I just kind of like dipped my toes slowly into real estate over time, and realized like, hey, I like this. People always need a place to live. I always heard about like relatives who made a killing through real estate. I mean, everyone knows someone that made a killing through real estate, right? Whether they're a realtor, they're a flipper, hard money lender, whatever it looks like. Like, so I just thought, okay, like, it seems like there's a low failure rate, high success rate, because like with real estate, it's very forgiving. Like you can mess up, and like if you have a long enough time horizon, and assuming you have the cash and the reserves to sustain it, like it's hard to lose money in real estate, right? Like even though I was like cash flow negative $500 a month on my Livermore property, like right now I think I'm breaking even, but if I raise the rents $200, I mean I might be making like $100-200, but over time, that's when you start to cash flow. Like my Lake Forest property, when I bought it, because I put 10% down, I was like cash flow negative $500 a month. But now, after raising the rents, I'm gonna be making $300 a month. So that's an $800 swing. So I was able to like get rid of PMI. I was able to raise rents organically over time, right? Every time I renew the lease, I'd raise the rents. Like every 2 years, I would raise the rents about $200-300 on average every 2 years, right? So if you kind of average it out, it's about $100 a year. And now it's cash flowing, right? And then in another 2 years, it'll go up by another 300, right? So I'll be cash flowing, $600 a month. So, and then the value goes and appreciates over time. So that's why I mean by real estate's a long-term game. But what I like about it is real estate's replicable. You don't need to be a super genius to do it. It's a very simple business model. It's a high success rate, low failure rate. I mean, capital is needed, but there are ways to buy it with creative financing, and you can put low money down or no money down, right? It's possible if you know how to structure it. So that's why I kind of went to real estate. Like it was very accidental and organic for me. None of my parents really knew much about real estate. None of my friends really knew about real estate. My extended family didn't really know much about real estate. Like as much as I knew about real estate was my aunts were like mortgage lenders at US Bank, and they just would tell me to buy real estate, but that's about it. Like they didn't really explain much else to me. So it was like very accidental. And for me, like the thought of business wasn't really appealing to me, because it's just high capital, high failure rate. So like it's not worth it. Like I wouldn't be interested in like a distribution business, but like real estate, it's just nice. It's very like systems and process driven. So like it was very natural with the way I think, with the way a pharmacist thinks. So I think it fit well with my skill set as a pharmacist, as more of an analytical thinker, and as a problem solver, right? And then I love to learn as well. So that's how my journey went to real estate. I would say it's very serendipitous, very accidental, and like I said, when I bought my second home, I didn't think I was a landlord, to be honest. I was like, oh well, I just used to live over there. Now I live over here, and I didn't want to sell that house because I can afford to, so I'd rather rent it out and keep that property long term. So that was really how I got into real estate after reflecting it and doing it for 7 years, and building up a $6.2 million net worth from real estate, thanks to real estate and thanks to leverage. So that's really how I got started in real estate. Not glamorous at all, but that's just how I got started and fell into the real estate business. And I thought that real estate would be the greatest way for me to achieve financial freedom too, because I already had that unfair advantage. But now I'm also on top of real estate. Now that I mastered it, I'm trying to add on business onto like real estate or real estate related business that I could, give me some cash today so that I can definitely step away from my W-2 job. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions. Love to hear your comments. If you want to buy multifamily real estate and some guidance, check out the mentorship program down below. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.